Hello! How's it going, everyone? Oh boy. Today's going to be kind of funny. Oh man. But first, I just wanted to say, welcome Funhow, welcome Exodus, welcome Lich King, welcome Amy, and I think that is... Oh, Hojo's here. Hello, Hojo. Yo. Oh boy. Okay. So it's really funny. This is technically going to be like my third or fourth big discussion since finishing the game, because I've had like one-on-ones with a few different friends about stuff, and I have forgotten some of the stuff I talked about like fresh off of finishing. So if I end up repeating myself, I apologize, and some things, you know, I hope I get to talk about everything interesting that has come up since then when talking to others. But yeah, today we're gonna be talking about Trails Beyond the Horizon and talking spoilers for like everything in this one and probably larger Trail series. A little bit of Nayuta, only a little bit though, because I am planning to stream that game, and I don't want to say too much because I feel like I've spoiled that game more than I probably should have, just for the virtue of being able to talk to you guys about it. But like, so I feel like I'm gonna have to have like a second conversation after I do my stream series of that. But man, how's it feel being in the waiting room? Weird. Okay, it feels very weird. I'm gonna go ahead and say this straight up. It's like, I had one of these thoughts. I have been playing these games since 2019, and I've been dodging spoilers for like 7 years now. So being caught up feels weird. Like, really weird. Like, what do you mean I can just look up whatever and not worry about like my algorithm getting tainted? It's bizarre. I'm sure it's gonna be a good feeling. The flip side is, I'm in cliffhanger hell now. So that's something. Oh, man. Regardless, though, I don't know. I really enjoyed this game. Okay, it's funny. I think in the early days of Trails, I think it was like 2 to 3 years between. And then I think like Cold Steel 3 onwards, I think it became a little bit more back to back, I think. Cause I think 3 and 4 I think were a year apart. I'm talking the Japanese releases, by the way. For us, it's been like a little bit more back to back because we've been trying to catch up. You know what I mean? But I think like in Japan, there were breaks between certain games. But yeah, 2 years with a cliffhanger like this is gonna be a time. I'm sure has been a time. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I think those were like the big ones with those. Yeah. I think there might have been a break between 4 and Reverie as well. I think. But I think Reverie through Daybreak 2 were like a year apart, something like that. Anyway. Yeah, I guess to really unpack a lot of stuff. I don't know. I don't know where to begin with this one, because there's so much that happened in this game. To the point that, honestly, if no one said it yet, I would not be surprised if someone called this specific Trails game convoluted. Because it's pretty packed. And can be hard to follow in places. Because of, like, how much crazy stuff is happening, like, back to back to back, especially in the, like, back half of this game. And it doesn't really help that we are left with a lot of things that just do not have answers right now. And also a few things that I'm kind of like, these are hanging mysteries that feel important, and I will not know what the frick they meant until the sequel. Like, for example, and I picked up on this early on, I found it very suspicious that there were all those, like, and they made very explicit points to point out, like, the ripped off 4 SPGs everywhere. And we technically never got that paid off. Again, I have a feeling it's Anya's related. But, like, again, I don't know. That may be for next game. Who's to say? It was Valentine. You sure it was him? You sure that was him? I guess that would make sense. But, like, again, there's a lot in this game. Maybe I did just miss that. Oh. Huh. Okay. Okay, I get what you mean then. Never mind. If that's the case, then I'm dumb. Okay. There's a lot that was happening. And I was probably overthinking it because of, I was very suspicious of Anya's, which I was right to be, up to a point. But, like, I was definitely going for the moon with that one. You know what I mean? Okay. So, anyway, yeah, I think in general there's, like, a lot going on. So, I guess I'm just gonna... Alright. I guess first of all, I want to talk about, like, the structure and what it's been like kind of streaming this game a little bit. Oh yeah. I think as far as, like, the way that this game was structured, one thing that was, like, very insane to me and caught me very off guard was just kind of the way they did this one, because on the surface, I totally thought this was going to be, like, a Reverie thing, like, hey, like, most of it we'd be able to just kind of switch back and forth and that they would be, like, fairly equally distributed. But it's more like Van and his group is, like, the center thing. Although, ironically, they feel the least in the know for most of it. And Anyas is part of that. Thank you, Anyas. But, like, they're just kind of in the center and not really, like, in the know. While, like, Reen and, like, Kevin are, like, getting the larger series mystery stuff going on there. Whereas, like, the other one's, like, the emotional core, I guess. And I think the I will say this about Van's route in general. I really enjoyed it, but, like, that one in particular is, like, the one that I have, like, the most, like, man, I just need to know, like, know where we're going with this, like, with the Vestiges in particular. The Vestiges are, like, okay, I will also say this as well. This is gonna lean into when I rank this later. I feel like where I end up ranking this game is gonna go up and down, very dependent on whatever they do next. Granted, that is normal for these sequels, but this one for sure feels like one of those Trails games that is, like, very hard to fully judge without... Sorry about that. Feels like one of the ones that's very hard to fully judge until, like, we know what's going on in full. I mean, we know, like, parts of it, but not all of it, you know? And that's really frustrating because we're going to be sitting on this one for a hot minute. But I can definitely say that it has been a very fun ride. But it definitely succeeded in me feeling like Van, where I'm just, like, just on the back foot while crazy stuff is just happening around me. Like, and trying desperately to figure it out while on a clock of everything just, like, in danger, you know? I think it was around the time well, to be fair, some of his external things, like, when I started being told how long the finale was, for example, somewhere in like, Act 3 was where I was just, like, and I had heard there was a crazy cliffhanger, but as soon as I was, like, in late Act 3 and I was, like, hearing how, like, long the final chapter was, I was like, okay, there's no shot most of this is getting resolved in this finale. So, yeah, it's really cool, but it's like, yeah, I think in general, though, I don't know, I really enjoyed the ride. I think it's funny, I mean, obviously, I have a little bit of bias, but I do think, as far as, like, larger series payoffs, and I do mean larger series payoffs, I think Reen's route might have been my favorite. But only just because, like, I was getting to see Yun Kafai, I was getting to see, like, the sky ceiling stuff explored, and, like, the, in general, like, with the old ruins and all that kind of a thing. Kevin really did, like, was close, though. It's funny that Reen ended up that way, though, because he had, like, the worst segment, which was, like, Reen Route 1. But, like, the rest of it was, like, so freaking good, like, it made up for it. Yeah. I think, like, with Kevin's side, though, there was really good dramatic stuff for Kevin, but again, like, that is unresolved as frick, all things considered. Like, it feels very much like I played half of his plot line, and I do not know the other half yet. And especially the way this one ended is like, okay, what? Part of me really does hope, because this rewind specifically was achieved using the Genesis, that it works like the Genesis did in Daybreak 2, where certain characters remember certain things on some level, or if they need to have their memories jogged at least, because, I don't know how the frick you pay off this while, like, having no one remember anything. Like, I feel that needs to be, like, a critical ripple. Even, like, Yun Kafai talking to Reen has, like, no point if he's not going to remember anything next time around. And I think partially because of his circumstances, I think that would make sense. But, like, yeah. Again, like, it's one of those things, like, I'm just, dang. I guess Van's route felt the most concluded, quote unquote, but it definitely, yeah. I'm gonna try and save the Naya to talk a little bit later, but funny. That's funny theory. Okay, so I think the thing is, though, as far as, like, the way that... If I remember. Beyonder. Sure, yeah. But I do also think just the mechanics of the Genesis specifically might also facilitate it. I could see that happening, because, again, that also pays off it doing that in Daybreak 2. You know what I mean? Because then that was used to rewind this time, so that's what I'm leaning towards, but, like, whatever works to get them to know what's going on, you know what I mean? Super teen girl, god, super teen girl, that's funny. Okay, so, it's really weird as far as, like, that thing there. I don't know if that's what that was, but I do just remember very distinctly that when they mentioned back in Cold Steel how they went about sealing the Septarian of Steel, that they so this is in reference to what he said, where he's asking if it was Ishmelga that we saw at the end there. When they mentioned how they sealed the Septarian of Steel initially, that it was so powerful they had to split it into, like, two, so there was, like, its brain, like, its mind, and its, like, power. They separated it. The mind went to the higher plane, which, you know, in the church terms, it's like, oh, it's like another dimension, but, I'm starting to think it may be a little bit more literal, whereas the power became the Divine Knights, and, this was my own personal conjecture, because the more I actually consume Cold Steel 4, the more I started realizing the 4, I think, is when they really started messing with stuff that involved this deep lore, but it wasn't time yet to reveal it, so they had to start being very vague with how they explain certain things. And what leans into that theory is stuff like, for example, I think the mechanics of the curse, if I have a guess, is like, I have a feeling it's the brain that was sealed up top is like influencing from outside the shell, trying to like do its thing. Or like something like that. That's a theory I have. So that's one thing. And also like something that didn't really make sense at the time, but now actually makes a lot more sense was the Holy Beast of Earth in 4 was you know how like it was just like, why is there like a weird dimensional flux thing happening? Like, why is this here? Why can we interact with it? Like, all that kind of a thing. And now that we know previous loops exist and everything, I have a very strong theory then that the bad ending of Cold Steel 4 might have been like a previous loop that just happened to be very similar to the current loop. And so because of that, that was basically like an echo of like a weird time space anomaly because of the previous time loop, and that's why it was there. Yeah. So that's very fascinating. And it's reinforced also by Reverie, considering. And this also, funny enough, is a very good hand-wavy explanation for something that has bothered me for a bit. Cold Steel 3's prologue. Because, obviously, like, Azure did the Zero thing where it's like, oh, that was just, the timeline before Kia reset. But in, Cold Steel 1, you had, like, a similar thing where, like, Crow and, Milliam were not in the party in the intro, and, like, the layout of the dungeon was a little different. In Guerrilla Fortress, and then you have like Cold Steel 3, which did the same thing again, except that one had Angelica and Aurelia weren't there in the Juno Naval Fortress section, and that was driving me crazy because I thought the Cold Steel 1 thing was a butterfly effect from Kia, and it may still be, but I'm now thinking Cold Steel 3's one is just a previous loop. And it's so weird. Like, hold on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, it is one of those really funny things, though, that there are, like, these really minor differences, but I'm wondering, like, with each iteration, like, how different they actually get, because I have a feeling, like, maybe some of them, maybe because of people remembering things or, like, weird influences, it feels like, maybe they're becoming more and more similar to each other as the loops happen or something like that, or maybe something weird like that. Or, I don't know, it could be anything, to be honest. We have opened a wild can of worms with this plot twist. Like, I think the funny thing is because we've done this, they can do almost anything they want. Yeah, no, I've definitely seen interviews and theories about stuff like that, which is pretty crazy. Yeah. No, I think in general there's just so much going on in this game that's just kind of crazy. Oh god. Okay, so I mean, that's I've not seen that, no. Although her activating the time travel thing itself was pretty wacky. Although, I think you know what I think about the Grandmaster, Amy, to an extent. Actually, you did just give me a good segue to talk about... Well, okay. I still feel like I kind of want to save talk about Nayuta stuff for, like, later on. So I will unpack that later. That's an interesting theory, though. Yeah, I wonder... I don't know where the frick we're going with that. I wonder what the... There's so much you could do. But no, Source, trust me, bro. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's just a whole lot in regards to this game that is just very, very... If you can't tell, I didn't really go into this with much of a plan in terms of my discussion. Like, I had things to do this morning, so I'm just kind of here. But oh god. Okay, I also talked about this. So I know some people brought up a correction that we don't have it, like, hard confirmed about Kincaid being potentially the, holy beast of the Septarian of Time or whatever, right? I have a theory that, the holy beast mechanically may work a little weird, because the last one we saw that was important, Roselia, was also really weird mechanically, because she wasn't technically the original holy beast, but they had like a thing where they were able to pass on the title to like a future one, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about, and how she was like training like Celine to become like the next one or whatever. So I think that opens the door for holy beast to not necessarily be rigidly like an animal guardian per se. So what I speculate is, I think like a holy beast is like maybe like, I think some Sentai and Kamen Rider things do things like this every once in a while, and that would lean into their inspiration, where you have like, and Mega Man Star Force, if any of you guys have seen or played that, where you have like a spirit being and a dude, and the spirit being team up to bring out their full power together, you know? Henshin, like a Grendel. You know what I mean? So, it's like a case where you have the Holy Beast part, but the Holy Beast part needs to like have like another person to fuse with, and it transforms into a thing. That's how I think this may work mechanically, and it's so good to just go full Kamen Rider / Sentai with this. Which also may mean that, like, which raises questions about Van, because Van is like also like this, which I don't know fully. He definitely reacted to whatever Kincaid was doing. Yeah. Well, yes, but, like, that doesn't mean that the Grendel can't be a separate mechanic. You gotta remember this. I don't think they explicitly said, because the only thing that makes it activate is a, you know, because the Demon Lords and the Septarians, as far as we understand, are different. And he needs, like, a Genesis to do it. Anyway. Yeah. So I think they're different mechanics. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. I forgot and or missed that line. That's interesting. Okay. In Daybreak 1 he said that? I may ask for a source later, Amy. Okay, though. Like, as in, like, a clip or something. But, okay. Oh, I mean, I have so many questions. I mean, again, they could do so many things different. I mean, okay, let's also be real. The really funny thing about all of this, right, is that, like, we talk about, like, the whole Krail incident, and, like, let's be real, we now have, like, we've time traveled back, so, I mean, like, there's a high chance Krail may not get blown up anymore if we are going back to Daybreak 1. So, I mean, for anyone who really likes that, welcome to Trails. I don't care. That's fine. I'm more interested in whatever's happening in the larger plot right now. They at least did it with pretty good respect and everything, yeah. I see. But yeah, I mean, I still don't really know. It's weird. It's a very wacky idea to go back like that. I don't know how I feel about the idea of there being, like, 2 groups of Almada running around because of, like, the time travel thing with, like, the vestiges and all that. So, like, part of me kind of hopes, like, it'll be a case of when they loop back, the vestige brain just overwrites the present brain or something like that, and then it's like, okay, we're something wibbly wobbly timey wimey just for simplicity's sake, because it'd be unhinged to have 2 of them running around at the same time. Oh yeah, no, I heard there are different explanations and stuff, yeah. Yeah. Further and have 80 Melchiors. God. Oh, man. 7 read sports. Oh yeah, no, I mean, the one thing I have gathered from all of this and everything is, yeah, no, friggin' the Trails Riders are Galaxy Brain. They legit have planned things for a long time, and, like, I've noticed when I've gone back and replayed, and it's, like, frustrating because I feel the further you get into it, the more true that becomes, because you just really do pick up on things, or at the very least, they are the best people at keeping track of old plot threads and just going, like, what if we paid this off? And how can we pay this off in a cool way? It's either they're really good at planning, or they are, like, the best at working with what they've done before. Either one's great. I just have to compliment. Yeah. But yeah. No. I don't know. Yeah, no, that part is still kind of funny with the statue. Yeah. But okay. I have a few very funny tier lists. I'm gonna transition for a second, because maybe this will get me yapping even more. So we're just gonna switch on over to desktop for a second. I have... It's mostly 2 tier lists I need to update, as per usual. But I do need to go through a lot of what you guys have said. Oh, yeah. I also have something I want to thank you guys for later on, but, yeah. Okay, so, this is a full Trail series chapter tier list. I'm gonna be real, I am not updating anything that is here, because Jesus Christ, I'm just gonna very arbitrarily talk about each of the chapters. And, because I think I just freeform jumped to talking theorizing for a bit, and, I'm gonna transition to talking about the game itself again for a little. Yeah, so I guess here we go. The prologue. Okay, so, let me switch to another track. Let's go for this one. Kevin Graham, baby! Love this track. Okay. So I really enjoyed the prologue. I think it is really cool getting to see everyone again and like the way that they, you know, just the team matchups are like really cool and everything. But I would make the argument that I don't really think like it's there just to get everyone introduced, let you know they're in the game and everything, especially considering 2/3 of the group will not be in the plot for a substantial amount of time during Act 1. So I think with that in mind, I don't really know where I'd rank it. Probably higher than, well, yeah, definitely higher than SC's prologue. Higher than, yeah, probably chapter 3 of that prologue. And it's cool getting to see everyone again, but like I don't really have too much more to say about it other than that. I will say I did that one talking section. I think I just kind of had fatigue hit me at that specific part. I don't know. It's okay. I'm gonna put it here, just in here generically. This is not in order. Just slapping it somewhere. It's okay. It's good. Act 1. So that one's Act 1 is really weird for me to rank. So wait, hold on. I'm trying to actually understand. So we have like 6 van routes, and then I guess they just called one thing Van Zero. Intermission was in between Act 1, right? Let me just double check this. Well, I don't know. Intermission, I could just go ahead and just put that somewhere arbitrary because it's just like, here's the garden. This is how it works in this one. Yeah. I'll put it in the same tier. Like, it's there. Oh, okay. This is the one that, like, introduced the full garden then, I think, right? Like, we had, like, the explorable, like, hub and everything there. Okay. So, I am assuming Van Zero is Act 1. It's so fascinating, the way this game is structured. Act 1 was good. I definitely felt very... Again, I mean, this carried over throughout almost all of Van's route for up until, like, the later parts of it. But, definitely some of the most in the dark on what was happening. Some good character stuff. Really like the... Like, Yorda was really cool. The AD cult is an interesting plot development. Again, like, I leaning towards putting it in probably somewhere in here. For me, like, I kind of feel like its highs didn't quite get as entertaining as, like, some of, like, Daybreak 2's or, like, some of Daybreak 1 stuff, but, like, it had some really good character stuff in it. It might be better than a lot of these, though, when I'm looking at these. Yeah, if I were to arbitrarily place it, it'd probably be maybe, like, there. Like, it's in B. It's solid. Yeah. Okay, so... Act 1... I can go ahead and say this. Alright, I'm gonna immediately do this. Rain Route 1 is, like, a... I mean, like, the Amelia stuff is cool, but I really hate that it felt like a little bit of a nothing burger of a chapter. Like, I had some good character stuff, but that's really all I can say about it. I'm really glad it bounced back, but I would say I was not the biggest fan of it, and I'll go ahead and say this as a personal thing. This is not necessarily a knock, but I kind of wish that the mech combat in this, it's only used twice, but I kind of wish the mech combat in this kind of felt more like a evolution of Cold Steel's rather than just Grendel with, like, a couple alterations to it. And when I say that, I mean, like, we could have, like, the free movement. We can, like, make it feel more like regular combat. But, like, I feel having, like, the joints to target and, like, some inclusion of those other mechanics and stuff in there would, like, make it feel very different and, like, fresh and kind of, like, cool, you know? Like, it's just kind of, yeah. I didn't really like that. But it's cool they did it at all. I will say that much. I just would have preferred it were done differently. So, anyway. I also may be, like, one of the people that likes the mech combat the most in these games, so that may be me. Okay. So, and for the record, I will say Grendel combat is more mechanically interesting than the mechs. I'm just saying, could have incorporated more elements, because there are really good aspects of the mech combat that just sad weren't there. Anyway. Alright, so, let's go for Kevin one, because that's a lot more... This was, like, my first, like, real banger one for me, was, like, that moment where, like, just Hamilton time traveled, and, like, when I first started going, like, oh my god, this is getting wacky, and, like, the character stuff with Kevin was, like, amazing. Like, this was easily my favorite route of Act 1. Grendel's nuts to save the key. Amazing. Let me put this here real quick. Or, yeah, it might be here. Which one? Or C, or A. It's really good. I like the Kevin one, even if it's short. Yeah, I would say it's probably comparable to Azure's Prologue. Azure's Prologue is a banger. I really like that. That was good. Van one. Okay, so... If I recall correctly, this is the one where, Ouroboros is, like, officially introduced to them when, like, you have that chase sequence in, like, the party. And just Rosalie going all Grimcat and everything, right? That's that one. If that is the case, that one was a lot of fun. Yeah, I would put it probably top. It was fun. It was pretty It's a nice, fun one. Yeah, I could put maybe like top of B, very top of B. Yeah, okay. Right. So then, I think I've actually tried to go in order of when I did some. Okay, so like Rain 2 was peak. I loved Rain 2. Rain 2 was like one of my favorites, and like I just love the deep lore thing alone. Is really good. It's like at least like here. I think it's probably better than Fragments. Then again, oh god, we're into like some of the banger chapters here though. Yeah, either like S or like bottom of SS, I think. Like it's good. I really like that one. Yeah. Of course, like Rain 3. I'm just gonna jump ahead for a second. Rain 3 with you and Kafai and everything, just it's so good. This is like, if this is bottom of SS, this is probably towards the top. Yeah, no, this one I absolutely think I like more than the Fragments here, even if like, again, it does feel like it's just a lead up to that ending on their side. Yeah. I feel a lot of these could go up or down depending on what happens next, which is a little scary. This is a hard game to judge. This feels like a very hard game to judge. Kevin 2 was amazing. I like the whole like conspiracy thing where like she was just using water to like, or like that time machine to like substitute the water in and out, you know what I mean? Like that was pretty good. I don't know actually. This feels very arbitrary. Again, I'm just gonna put this in here. Yeah. Although I feel CS3... I will say I feel this game is unique. I know, Jaden. I'm not putting much thought into this, for the record. If anyone judges this, I am sorry. I'm not thinking about it more than the surface level. Okay? But what this is good for is helping me go through an exercise of remembering what happened in the game. Alright. Yeah. No, Kevin 3... Good. That Krail moment was really freaking good. Like, I felt like that was comparable to, like, getting to see Hummel in, like, Cold Steel 3. Maybe, like, a little bit more impactful in some ways. But I don't know that thing. Hummel has, like, a lot of weight to it. It was just a good moment. And, like, the twists and everything with Hamilton were pretty good. Like, good way of, like, escalating the conflict. Yeah, I don't know. I liked it a lot. I'm gonna put it like, maybe, no. I don't know. I'm just freaking putting these here. I'm gonna be honest. Some of these Reverie things have like started to like exit my brain on my specific feelings on each of them. This is the most insane thing ever. Yeah. Alright, we're into the van stuff, because I feel like I want to talk about the van stuff more or less in order here, because it's like... Okay, so, after the one where they went to the auction, was, van 2 the one where, they confronted Ix in, like, the abandoned part of the, yeah, just the ruined area. Sorry, my brain or not. The park. Yeah. Okay, so it was that part. Yeah, Vestige's first appearance. That was a really good one. I definitely enjoyed that one a lot. We had his main villains introduced. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll just slap it here. Going off the ones I do remember very clearly. Okay, so that means that, Van... Does that mean the Van 3 through... What the heck? Was it really that many sections? Hold on. Okay, hospital. Computer server place, or like, you know, that. And then this was like the day after Anya's left. Okay. No, this was that the day after Anya's left. No, 3 must have been what I just put up. What was Van 2? Oh wait, Van 3 was was that the Anya's part with like the... Okay. This had really good character moments. Yeah, okay. You're right. Yeah, no, that's really good character moments. I liked it a lot. Yeah, probably one of my favorites from the Van route on like a pure, just like, emotional level. Especially thinking back on it after beating the game. It was really good stuff. Yeah. Okay, so... Van 4... I love you and all you. Alright, let's see. Maybe not that one. No, actually, let's go with this one. The funny theme of the funny robot that definitely did not make me mauled in Van freaking 5. Yeah, no, Van 4. I think this... Yeah, no, getting to see Anchorville, really cool. Yoon Kafai getting some really hype and worm moments were really awesome. Freaking Taco Man showed up for the first time, and like, you know, just more encountering the Vestiges, seeing what they're up to. Yeah, it was good. It was entertaining. Yeah, I like that one. I don't know if I'd say it's like as good as like Van 3, but it's good. Yeah, Van 5. God, that one was really good. Except for the mauled part. When I was maulding there, that sucked, but like everything else was good. I really liked, you know, stuff with Aaron's dad. Getting to meet Khan was a really cool moment. Heiyue got to do something really cool in that part. I really enjoyed Van 5. That one was a banger. Ended on a really good cliffhanger too. Yeah. I think Van 5 is really good. And, okay. Van 6 was awesome. Okay. Okay, no. I should clarify, when, Pandemonium started happening again, it started losing me a little bit, only just because, again, just Trails loving to just be like, man, isn't this like the old thing? When we stepped into that building, and we, like, teleported into, like, the freaking future, that was awesome. Hey, how's it going, dude? Good seeing ya. Talking about the newest Trails game and how it broke my freaking brain. But yeah, no, that time leap and everything was freaking crazy. Just freaking God Eater apocalyptic freaking thing happened there. That was crazy. I loved that one. That one is probably one of my favorites. Maybe a little bit, like, right behind Rain 3. That was good. Anyway, the finale. One of the best. I freaking loved that. Like, lots of good character moments. The tension was freaking palpable. Like, you just know things are gonna get crazy. Like, and then, like, the whole finale with the freaking cube and, like, the fight in freaking outer freaking space and, like, the countdown and, like, all, like, the crazy stuff, and then freaking King K just eating and just, like, freaking just insane. I just, yeah, it's so good. And then obviously, like, the Anya's thing at the end. Oh my god. Oh man. It was so good. Here's the thing though. As much as I really liked it, I am actually going to compare with, like, I feel these three finales, or these three chapters specifically, because they're, like, Fragments, Daybreak 2, SC finale, and Azure finale, and, like, Azure just, I mean, that's a giant chapter. A frick ton happens in it. But, like, almost everything that happened in Azure final chapter is, like, some of the most iconic stuff in Trails. And I feel like that is, like, impossible to defeat for me because of how much awesome stuff happens in it. Like, the only complaint you can give is maybe you could split it into a few chapters, but, like, other than that, it's like Kino. SC, I mean, the emotional payoff's amazing. Yeah, like, the emotional payoff and, like, the Kevin thing and, like, the Oriole and, like, its deep lore and everything is, like, really freaking cool. Like, Fragments is, like, just the greatest payoff ever for, like, Ren's arc and, like, the way that we got to see such a that location. Although I will admit it does have, like, problems, but, like, I don't know, it was really good. I could definitely see the argument for this finale being better than Daybreak 2 Fragments. So I might bump it there. But, like, yeah, I might bump it there. I mean, you're allowed to think that. I disagree. Honestly, on both counts, honestly. Even if, like, there were issues with the latter one, I don't care. I get what you mean. I don't know. I still love it. But, yeah. Anyway. Is his car? I mean, Chapter 4 of Azure is also up here. And I mean, I think what happened there is really Kino, but, like, I don't know. I just really liked the, like, going around, you got, like, getting to explore Crossbell in, like, that state, and, like,
after everything was happening, and like, you know, you see how things have devolved. You're having the conflict against like the bad guys, where you're finally getting the fight against them, and then like, you know, the Dieter Croy stuff, which is like really freaking good. And then I like the, oh god, Orcus Tower is freaking iconic. Aryan Road fight is during that part, and that's freaking amazing. You have the Azure tree, which is like just so good, and the twist regarding Zero is amazing. I don't know. Chapter 4 is mostly defined by like one sequence, and it's like the very end of it. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, and that's Cold Steel 2 stuff is like over here. I love that. Again, I don't think any of this is in super particular order though. But okay. Anyway, there we go. We did it. But today I'm gonna be focusing on Horizon. Yeah. Okay, so I want to adjust my tier list a little bit. At one point I had it like I'm about to do it, and I changed my mind because I kind of wanted to even out like the ranking a little bit for these, because I feel like, in my opinion, a lot of these games are really good, like really, really, really good. And I put this here partially as a meme, but also just to reinforce I disagree with anyone that says there are bad Trails games. If you think that, you're allowed to. I just disagree. I think almost any of these games are among my top RPGs, full stop. So, with that said, let's put on Jaden's favorite track. All right. Anyway, so I think I am gonna bump some of these down, but only just to make S tier less bloated. So I'm just gonna put these down more or less identical. And then I think I'm gonna put Cold Steel 3 down 1. Sky First is an interesting one. So I put Sky First here during like my New Year's stream, because I never did a wrap-up stream for that game. So that one's really interesting to me, because I feel like the gameplay of that one, specifically exploring Liberal, is yeah. Yeah, no, like D as in just, I have to put these in a sorted order so it's less bloated up here. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think for me, Sky First, like, exploring Liberal, so fun. The way they revamped the combat is like really good. I feel like Sky First has like top tier gameplay for me out of the series in its own way that's different than, like, let's say, I guess Horizon or some other ones that I really love. I mean, like, I could break down the full list if you guys want me to. Do you guys want me to? I mean, we'll be here a little bit longer, but I could. Okay, I will try and keep this, like, very shorthand. Alright, fine. So I'm just gonna start with, like, I guess we'll just, you know, I'll start with my middle-of-the-road Trails game, like, my current de facto middle-of-the-road Trails game, which is Cold Steel 3. I know a lot of people love it, but, like, I kind of do feel like it has probably the worst balanced combat, in spite of it having really good mechanics. And its story is really good, but it is also very, how do I put this? It hit really hard the first time, but not as hard the second time for me when I revisited it recently. And it's kind of like, as far as like the Trails games I like really, maybe it's not even middle of the road. I like it a lot more than Cold Steel 1, like substantially. I think it does a pretty good job of kind of bridging, I feel like, Cold Steel 1 stuff with like Azure to an extent. But yeah, I feel like it's very restrictive, and I think I've also kind of learned that it in Daybreak 1, I feel shares some pacing similarities to me, at least, where I feel both of them kind of have a case of just very heavy story, even by Trail standards, and you get like only like little bits to actually mess around with the gameplay. The thing that makes Daybreak 1 a lot better is that Daybreak 1 is nowhere near as badly balanced as Cold Steel 3. But Cold Steel 3 has a lot of big hype and aura moments, and it's like really good, does a lot of really good payoffs, and does a good job of setting up Cold Steel 4, all things considered. And I'll even go ahead and say some things that people complain about the Cold Steel 4 did. I'm just gonna be real with you, Cold Steel 3 set it up to do those things. Like, most of the time. The Curse's mechanics were stated pretty clearly in 3, with some things omitted. And they just kind of rolled with it when they made 4, because that's what they made them side by side. So they're very interwoven. I even think the thing that people get upset about, the ending there with like the Olivier thing, feels very much planned for it to just be a subversion in 4. Some people disagree with me, but like, that's what it reads like to me. Because I know how Trails is, they will set up a character to act one way, but like, you know, under the hood they're not actually that way, and that's the entire way George was. So yeah, I don't really care about like, because here's the thing, I feel, anyway, this is getting into really stuff that I kind of don't really want to discuss live on stream, because I'd rather just eventually make my Cold Steel 3 and 4 videos. But yeah, I don't know, I felt like the character stuff was really good, and yeah, no, I agree with what Jaden said. There's a lot of other ways you can establish stakes aside from just killing people left and right. I'm gonna be real with you, I feel like Game of Thrones kind of brain rotted. Game of Thrones and Attack on Titan brain rotted people a little bit. That's just how I feel, though. But okay. Anyway, right. I'm gonna get back to Azure, though. Yeah, Azure. I don't think I need to explain Azure. I feel like I kind of explained Azure 5 seconds ago with the finale alone, but like, I think the rest of the game's Kino, so like, yeah. So Reverie, though. Reverie is like, I would not say the Reverie has like the best plot in the series, but it is probably one of the best gameplay-wise. A lot of really exciting moments. I freaking love Reverie. Getting to like play as like all the characters and the crazy like dream combinations you can make is freaking awesome. The Reverie corridor is like the best incarnation of the funny garden thing that we've had so far, in my opinion. Like, I think as far as I don't know, there's just a lot that it does that's really cool. I think a lot of my issues with it at the time, though, I think I've actually kind of just been like, no, this makes sense to me with time, as like I've consumed more of the Trails universe and its lore. Yeah. I don't know. Reverie's Kino. I personally love it. Yeah. Anyway, Zero is like my favorite arc starter. I can't really think of too much that Zero does wrong. I know there's games with higher highs, for sure. But I think it's just a fun time. Like, if I wanted a comfort Trails game to pick up and play, that's probably not a bad one to pick. I think Zero is just a good, self-contained game. So, yeah. Well, I say self-contained, but, like, close to as self-contained as you can get with Trails, you know what I mean? Yeah. Cold Steel 2 is one of my personal favorites. I know people dislike it. I love it. I have a whole video. I'm not unpacking that one. If you guys want to know my opinions on Cold Steel 2, check out my review. I put, like, basically a month or two of effort into editing that. So I would very much appreciate you checking it out if you haven't watched it already. But that was a big old passion project, a giant love letter to that game. I love Cold Steel 2. Yeah. Sky SC used to be, like, here. But as time has gone on, it's fallen a bit. And I am gonna give you guys a minor spoiler on this one. When the remake drops, it's probably going, like, here or here. Its one crippling issue is the same issue this game has. And it's the fact that it's just... the gameplay is, like, the most basic Trails has ever been. It has a saving grace in its gameplay, which is the fact that, like, you can use your full party consistently. You aren't just locked to, like, Estelle and Joshua. And, you know, you do have, like, some more broken stuff you can do in it. But at the end of the day, it's still, like, spam arts the game. It's still got some really bad balancing, especially on higher difficulties. It's still very slow, doesn't have much quality of life. And while I respect Chapter 8, if I played Chapter 8 without Turbo, it would not be a fun time. And I know everything I said here has nothing to do with, like, the story, and that it could be chalked up to it being, like, the second game in age. I understand that. Some of these rankings on some level are like, if you put these games in front of me, which one am I most likely to pick up and just play right now? You know what I mean? It's just... But I do respect it, and it is, like, still a game that means a lot to me. But it has things keeping me from coming back to it. Like, compared to, like, if I wanted to pick up, like, Azure or something. You know what I mean? Like, So as soon as the SC Remake comes out, it will drop, but SC Remake will probably be here. I feel pretty confident about that. Like, probably next to Azure... It'll have its tier back. Okay. So I'm looking forward to that game. But yeah. Okay. So I think I'm gonna put this here. I think I'm gonna keep Nayata here because this is just like, I just like this game and I just want to spread an agenda. Technically, this game is fundamentally different from everything else on this list. And I'll just show why I like the game with time, but yeah. I mean, I get what you mean, but these are video games. I know, like, RPGs are valued because of story, but I play these video games for more than just story. Like, here's the thing. If Trails was a visual novel, I probably wouldn't like it nearly as much as I do. I do love the story, but half of the reason I play these games is they have some of my favorite combat mechanics in an RPG, full stop. Like, I think Trails has my favorite turn-based combat. I don't think it's a contest. So it does matter to me. And I think if you ever watch my reviews, I think you would know that for sure. But yeah. Maybe I want to put Daybreak 1 up higher. I don't know. We'll figure this out. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to move some of these. I think I'm going to put this, like, here. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so Trails in the Sky, the first. Okay. I feel like I kind of want to put this here. Then maybe I'll put this here. I'll keep this here just so this is... I don't really care too much about where Nayuta's placed because, like, I'm gonna be honest, it's so different. But, like, it's at least B tier. I'll put it here so 3's not lonely. Yeah. So, Sky first. Again, it fixed basically my #1 problem with this game, which is the gameplay. It has some of the best gameplay in the series. I freaking love it. The exploration is really fun. Again, the way it melds Cold Steel's mechanics and Daybreak's mechanics together is great. Like, I loved having the stagger mechanics back. I kind of, like, it's one of my favorite things about Cold Steel, and getting to use that again is just cool. Again, after, like, Daybreak doing its own thing, it felt kind of refreshing to play a new one that, like, got to actually expand on Cold Steel's mechanics in a way. You know what I mean? And, like, some of the stuff you could do in like, Sky First is, like, really freaking cool. The field attacks and using, like, the crafts in that was pretty cool. I like, again, just exploring around Liberl the way they did it, because it was a lot more interesting to explore the remade version of Liberl outside of the towns. Especially, like, with the elevation dynamics, like, you can go up onto above things like bridges and stuff. It felt a little bit more like I was playing Visions of Mana, like, compared to a lot of the environments we've had for a while, where they just kind of felt like they were linear sections that you were supposed to go into, like, once. The remade version of Liberl actually just kind of felt just fun to explore, and it was kind of cool. So yeah, I really like that. It's very good combat. So yeah. Cold Steel 4. Look, I love it. I don't really care what anyone says. I could say my journey with Cold Steel 4 went as such. Before I joined the fan base, when I first finished the game, I said it was like my favorite Cold Steel game. I think I even said favorite Trails game. And then I had my own issues that kind of started showing up in my brain, recency bias and everything. And then I started interacting with the fan base, and compared to every other game in this list, I feel like I was so drowned out in the talks about the game's problems that I forgot how much I actually loved the game. And when I replayed it, I remembered how much I loved the game. I know that Cold Steel 4 has problems. I know that people dislike things about it. In my opinion, some of the things people dislike about it is people wanting Trails to be something it's not, or people expecting something different from the game than what it wanted to do. And I know in other cases there are things that are very poorly explained, either because it had to do with deep lore stuff we are learning now, or things that I think they started gaining too much self-awareness of the fan base, and this carried into Daybreak a little bit, and so they started hiding things a little too well. I think all that to say, I don't think it is without flaws, but I don't care. I like it. I like it. And likewise, right next to it is the other game. Daybreak 2, baby! Okay, I'm gonna be real. I know some people are really not gonna like what I have to say here, but, like, if you don't really like time loop plot lines and, like, death reset stuff and everything, one of my favorite anime is ReZero. And, Well, I would say ReZero executes this infinitely better in some ways. Seeing Trails do it at all was kind of awesome. I genuinely really liked a lot of the reset and like because part of what makes that kind of thing fun is just because you get to like shoot the stakes up really high the moment you set that as a mechanic. Because you can do practically anything crazy you want. You could have like a freaking nuke blow up like in your face and like this crazy over the top spectacle moment. And then just be like, okay, that was bad. How do we stop that? And that's like the genius thing about both ReZero and Daybreak 2 is that. Now, of course, I won't say it is always executed the best. Yeah. Again, like, I think, obviously, the idea of, like, let's say, the section where, like, they kept dying to, like, the friggin' Grendel monsters or whatever, I think the presentation is probably the problem I have with that. The idea of that happening is kind of interesting, though. Yeah. My opponents are crazy. Like, I really like that as a mechanic, and I think it's very interesting. And in general, I really love the character stuff as well. I've gotten into debates with people before because some people have said, like, I don't really see how this has, like, character development, but I mean, like, I'm gonna be real. We capped off Ren's arc. While people don't seem to care about Sao, we got, like, Heiwei, like, developed in there. And that counts, whether you like it or not. You have, like, stuff like, Celis and Leon and, like, their dynamic getting fleshed out, and, like, why they have problems with Van. You have, you know, all sorts of these other aspects of these other characters fleshed out. There's, like, so much character work that is done. And even world building, the Daybreak 1 didn't really have time to flesh out as much as, like, other arcs did before. And Daybreak 1 introduces probably some of the most characters and factions within its runtime compared to, like, any other arc starter. And so I feel like having an additional game to let it breathe before jumping into Horizon, especially before jumping into Horizon, probably was needed. The game we just played was insanely packed without having any of that Daybreak 2 stuff just in there. Could you imagine if you had, like, to introduce, like, the fact that the Genesis do rewinds and, like, the friggin', like, Crimson Grendel, like, the Sin thing, and, like, all that? Well, like, people calling it filler, I don't think know what the frickin' word means. Yeah. I really love... And Daybreak 2 also, like... Oh, yeah. No, and I really like their growth as well. Yeah. No, yeah. No, and I say this about Cold Steel 2 as well. Yeah, filler, I think people forget what that word even means. Like, if you wanted a filler arc, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. This would be a Trails filler arc. Would be if you had a game where, let's say, Arkwright Solutions found out... I'm gonna say island, but we're not gonna be talking about the island that we went to in Daybreak 2, okay? Just a random island archipelago. And we get introduced to these random new characters we've never seen before. And we spend the entire game interacting with these characters, thwarting some generic bad guy. And then, when we beat them, game's over. But then we just never see any of that again. Ever. And it's never mentioned again. And they never, like... That is a filler arc. Okay? Daybreak 2 does not do that. And neither does Cold Steel 2. So I need to put some respect because it drives me crazy. Yeah. And I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I feel like I complain about some people, and look, this is no hard feelings if you are guilty of doing this, but I felt the moment that we had like devices that were rewinding time, I knew that we were building up to the Septarian of time in some way, shape, or form, just because we were time traveling. And if you paid attention to the Septarians, there's one for like each element. So like we know also there's like water and wind out there somewhere that we haven't seen yet, because there's supposed to be 7, because Sept is 7. So like I knew that was what this was building towards and that this would be important, and there were a lot of people with 0 faith. Okay. Like, I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm now starting to wonder if the corrosion thing, though, could have also been parallel timelines bleeding in now that we know what we know. Because, like, that could have just been previous ones, just, like, stuff like the Maxim thing maybe did happen in some timeline with Aslan or something. That's what I'm starting to think a little bit. I mean, I was starting to guess that at the time, but, like, yeah. Either way, it's very wacky. But, yeah. Anyway, time affects the current loop in Doer 2, though, or if it's like a single... Well, okay, Act 3 was very wacky because it was like... Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that affects things. It's a very wacky concept. Yeah. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to break that down. Yeah. Daybreak 2 is good. I like it a lot. I will say the one thing that kept it, though, from, like, getting up there with, like, Cold Steel 2 as, like, just, like, the... Yeah, it's flawed, but this is one of my favorites. You know what I mean? What kept it from being that is Act 3 is messy. I understand it. I don't have a lot of problems with it, but the problems I do have with it are not great. Like, I think, the Garden Master sucks. I think retroactively he could very well be improved, but it doesn't really change that they just had to pull out a robot body out of nowhere to justify him being in the plot in the first place, and it was very rushed. And I think Act 3 just has a case of we have things happening, but we don't want to explain what happens because it may give away things for Horizon, so you're just gonna have to sit here and be confused, mixed with, oh, hey, also, we just didn't bother to address the Genesis disappearing every loop. You have to talk to NPCs for that kind of thing. And yeah, also just the fact that we don't even know a Gus deal, but they still push him on us as a villain, which is, like, not... Like, how do you expect me to care about him when I know nothing about him? Like, they mention, oh, his ideals. I'm like, what ideals? Is he racist? Does he hate... Like, is he about murdering the nobles and leaving none alive? Kill every last one of them? What is he about? And as far as I knew, they never really explained that, ever. And it really makes it hard for me to care when he's our villain. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that is the problems of Daybreak 2. So I mentioned this about Daybreak 1. I feel like I will openly admit that in a lot of ways I am unfair to this game. I'm gonna loop back to the first song I listened to today. Where is it? Battle Junction. Yeah, no, I do feel like in a lot of ways I am very, unfair to Daybreak 1, I will admit. As far as, like, me not liking it as much as other people. I think some of it was, like a combination of, cell shock. Alright, as I said, I'm gonna talk, like, real talk for a second. I try not to let the fan base affect how I feel about a game when I go into it. I really do try not to. Daybreak 1, though, was, like, fresh off of me as a very big Cold Steel fan, if you guys can't tell, dealing with, like, people talking about Daybreak being, like, the savior of the series, and, like, just in relation to Cold Steel, and, like, a lot of when I played Daybreak 1 felt, intentional or not, like a reaction to Cold Steel. And so there was, like, admittedly a part of me, I will openly admit, that did feel very, like, really, we're listening to these guys kind of attitude, which is not good. I'm gonna own up to that. I do want to say, though, that I really enjoyed these characters, especially as this arc went along. I think, like, Daybreak 2 kind of, like, made me finally just kind of just, like, settle in and, like, accepting, like, the cast, and, like, and it had been a while since I had an arc starter. I think, like, I think in general, and, like, I think it's just because also I had been in the Cold Steel and, like, previous game loop for, like, so long, because, like, prior to Daybreak 1, I had gone back and, like, I played Reverie, but I also had, like, gone back and played through Sky and Crossbell over again for, like, my reviews, and, like, I think Cold Steel 1 and 2 as well. So, like, I think just kind of, it had been a while since I had an arc starter like that. But yeah, it was just a very big change, like, a drastic change in a lot of ways, like, again, with, like, the free movement, the SCLM, and, like, them changing the ailment system, and, like, all these big drastic changes. But it also did feel kind of like it was doubling down on kind of Cold Steel 3's pacing with Cold Steel 1's chapter count for me, where it was just like, hey, you have, like, large chunks of story, like, little bits of gameplay, very, like, linear sections. You know, you're in an area for, like, a little bit, big high stakes, like, I think it's, like, really good, and I think in hindsight, the chapter I complained about the most in Daybreak 1 actually got improved by this game. Chapter 3, with, like, the weird, like, plant thing that was just making people go crazy with, like, the orbital hookahs and everything. I don't really care anymore, because we revisited that plot point and they fleshed it out in Horizon, which I never expected that, and it is kind of cool. Even if it does feel a little bit like a Pleroma Grass 2.0, a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Daybreak 1 is really good, and I do feel okay bumping it a little bit, but, like, I do feel like in my heart, though, I still might prefer Daybreak 2. Because, like, it also has, like, the garden, so, like, more gameplay. But, and, like, there's, like, some additions in the gameplay department, and I really like I do like the time travel rewind stuff. I'll just call this a bias pick. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I went into Cold Steel 3. I don't really want to get into Nayata right now. I've been at this for so long. Thank you guys for asking me to break this down before I freaking place Horizon in here. Okay. I'm gonna just start from the bottom with, like, these next three, and then just kind of go into it a little bit, because this will explain what I mean. And I'll just kind of jump back to SC for a second, because I need to talk about the Sky games in order. Sky 1, I mean, it's, like, story's good. I really like the character writing of it. But, yeah, it's probably, like, the stakes at, like, their lowest. The adventure vibes are really cool, and I like Estelle and Joshua. I feel most of the cast, their character stuff is in SC, not so much the first game. But yeah, no, the gameplay is by far the worst. I don't think it's a contest. FC has, like, you should not play FC on any difficulty above normal, or you're gonna have a really bad time. I think, like, I think in general, I don't know, like, again, it got me into the series. Hard disagree. For what? For FC? Really? You mean the game where just it becomes more magic spam the higher up the difficulty you go for FC? That game is better when you are playing it on normal to just beat the game and not care about its mechanics. I know that sounds horrible, but that's kind of how I feel about the game. But no, I don't know. I mean, it's like a good introduction to the series. But yeah, that's really all I can say about Sky 1. Like, it's good, but yeah. So yeah, SC, like I said, it has most of the same problems. I just think the plot's more exciting. Even if, like, there's some chapters I don't, like, love as much as some of the other games out there. Yeah, I can imagine that with Nika Bia. I think in general, SC though, yeah, no, I really like a lot of the story and stuff, and it is, like, better because you have more access to other characters, but, like, in general, I think it has a lot, and I do mean a lot of the same problems as this. Once the remake comes out, like I said, it's probably going, like, maybe here, or, like, here, you know what I mean? But for now, it gets to stay up here out of respect for it. Third, okay. You know, actually, that feels more fair. That feels a lot more fair to me. And just imagine there's a valley of quality here in between these two, okay? Alright. So, third is very much a preference thing. Combined with a few other factors. I think third has by far the best gameplay of the original three. Oh, you're right. I didn't realize I didn't even have a C tier. That's really funny. Okay. Thank you. I guess we could make a C tier. That's really funny. Yeah, let's actually just make a C tier, yeah. We'll make that the valley of quality. Okay. Yeah, no, so for third, I'll go ahead and say this, is very much a preference thing. It has by far the best balance of the original three. The combat's really good. You can play that on harder difficulties and I think have a good time. Crafts do way more damage than the previous two games. And the ability to play around with like the full character roster is good. There's even some nice quality of life, like the teleporting around the floors and having like the ability to mess with other people's equipment when you're at the base without them needing to be in your active party is really, it's just based. I like that. But yeah, I do feel like its problems for me stem more from the fact that it's like if you had an entire Trails game entirely set in one of the gardens, and like the doors are really good and they do let you explore the towns, not really the gardens. Reverie Corridor maybe more apt, but like, you know what I mean. Like, and I feel like it is the game where, for me at least, where the asset reuse felt the most egregious. Just because at least the other ones were the literal towns with the NPCs, and you could talk to them. Whereas, like, for example, Grand Cell doesn't really work as a dungeon, in my opinion. Like, it's mostly just walking into these towns. It has, like, a big ludonarrative purpose. I'm not going to discount that. But, part of me would have, like, preferred if it had more just, dungeons that weren't just repurposed environments from 1 and 2. Yeah. I do think, the other thing is, like, the doors are, like, such a shotgun of quality. You can have some of, like, the most peak, well-done character doors ever. Some stuff that really flesh out the world building. And then on the other end, you get cred, like, some of the horribly aged minigames, or like the freaking Viper door that is just god-awful on harder difficulties, or or like weird ones that are like the Dragon Tales one, which I find kind of funny, but like that one is like, I go back and forth on whether or not I even like that door. And I would make the argument that if you are doing the doors over the course of the game, the plot takes a while to really get to, like, the interesting parts. Because, like, a lot of it is kind of a slow build to learning what's really going on there, and, like, Kevin's backstory and everything. But it's a very short plot, technically. But if you are doing the doors in between, it can take a while. I remember very distinctly the first time I played the game, I got a little bit of burnout. You'll invest on the Marine. Eventually, trust. I think, yeah, I really like Kevin, but I also, funny enough, I don't like Kevin as much as other people. He is a really good main character, though. He's, like, really, really good. I think some of it is because he unfortunately doesn't have that many games, but I do like him a lot. He's, like, really high up there. And I do like the third is just dark. There's just some really crazy good stuff. I really like Kevin and Rhea's dynamic. It's really good. Cry for Me, Cry for You is really good. The final boss of it is probably one of the most iconic ones ever. Has one of my favorite final boss themes in the series. Yeah. I don't know. I have, like, I think that's the best way to describe how I feel about third is I'm just very mixed. There's some stuff I freaking love, and there's some stuff that, like, FC tier. It's like, I don't know. I'm just very mixed on it. So, yeah. That's, I guess, my thoughts on, third. Cold Steel 1, okay. So, the reason I personally, and this is a hot freaking take, and I know, the reason I personally, I like Cold Steel 1 more than, like, third, is I love Cold Steel's combat a lot. Like, a lot. Especially, like, in the back half of the game onward in the entire Cold Steel arc. I really love its combat. I really like, and I also like the cast a lot. I know, like, other people don't like the Cold Steel cast that much, but, like, I don't know, as far as I'm concerned, they're some of my goats. I love them. The music in Cold Steel 1 is, like, some of my, like, favorites. In general, I think it does, like, some of the slower stuff like Sky 1, but it does have, like, more exciting bits, like, in terms of, explosive set piece at the end of some of the chapters. I really like and building tension with, like, the reformists and nobles and all that, and, like, in general, the Guerrilla Fortress stretch was, like, really cool to have there as well as, like, a mid-game set piece. I don't know, I mean, like, it's not the greatest game in the series. In fact, I found it kind of a slog the first time I played it. I really appreciated it a lot more on my second playthrough. Just turning that on. These are so loud when I first play them. I think in general, though, a lot of its problems is the drip feed stuff is not good. Again, like, I like the school stuff more the second time around, but that, whether you like that or not, depends on the person, I think. And yeah, no, and also the ending. The ending of the game is, like, one of my favorite endings in Trails. Like, just the whole, like, thing with, like, the mech reveal and, like, all that other stuff. Again, I talk about that in my Cold Steel 2 video, if you guys want to, like, get my thoughts on that, but, like, that alone just elevated the game a frick ton. Again, like, I feel in this case, it's like you have, like, a nice little, like, character game, lots of really good development and everything, and this one's just like, hey, you know, I'm just kind of having fun playing the game, and then just everything started exploding at the end, which I know maybe isn't the greatest indictment, but, like, my god, the explosion was freaking worth it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Understandable. I think also, by the way, I think the nature of third makes it, like, weirder for me to compare with the other ones. Like, it's not as bad as Nayuta. Here, like, literally, I can just offhandedly slap this in, like, any of these two tiers, and I wouldn't care too much because, like, I'm comparing apples and goddamn oranges. This game feels like it is somewhere between an apple and an orange for me because of it's, like, dungeon structure and, like, only really having the doors with it. Like, whereas, like, Reverie over here kind of just marries the rest with it, but still feels kind of comparable. This is, like, I don't freaking know. Like, so. Anyway, I don't know. It's somewhere in B tier. I know a lot of people love third. I understand it. It's my list, though. I'm sorry. All right, we're here. We're at the game everyone actually wants to know. All right, Horizon. It was like the most giant detour freaking ever. Oh god, where do I place this one? Because y'all got me thinking about the rest of the games. Let's pull up the friggin'... Let's do this track. Where am I placing Horizon? Okay, I want to break this down. I think I'll break it down like this. This is my very shorthand review of Horizon, okay? I feel like the story of this game... I mentioned earlier that this game feels very unique. And I know people bring it up in comparison to Cold Steel 3, but I feel there is a very critical difference... Well, a few critical differences between this and Cold Steel 3. The first of which is Cold Steel 3... because of the way its, like, chapters were formatted a lot of the time is that, you know, you kind of had, like, your rising action, falling action formula, you know, that the Trails has loved to do forever. That has, like, every chapter is more or less done. I think, like, Reverie maybe semi-bucks that trend, but I would still make the argument that is, like, still kind of there a little bit. And that is kind of in Horizon. But it's, like, a lot of its, like, arcs are very short burst. Or, like, its chapter arcs are very short bursts. But they also feel like they very much flow directly into, like, the next one. And, like, the next one afterwards. And it's just, like, the entire game itself. For, like, I think the first time in Trails history, I very clearly see, instead of, like, a bunch of this, it's just one big, and we hit right here, and it stops. And this applies for all three routes, because it's just, we're right here, and, like, stops. Except for Van. Van is, like, here, and it is like this. But it isn't a full drop, because we know that cliffhanger. But that's more or less how this one feels. And it's makes it very fascinating to judge. Because, like, in the case of Cold Steel 3, there was, like, the larger mystery in the background, sure. But I would say that that one was a case of, like, the entire game was like this, and then you get to the end of, like, chapter 4, and it goes like this. You know what I mean? Yeah, quite a bit like that. Yes. And so, it very much feels like I'm missing the rest of the game. And it's very strange to judge in that regard, because it does feel like it very much depends on what the rest of it is gonna do. So, I suppose... But I will say this much, the ride has been fun. The entire ride has been amazing. I have very much enjoyed the ride. I just have so many questions and theories and stuff, but, like, I don't know yet till the rest. But if I have, like, a tentative placement... Oh, yeah, no, it's up here. It's no question. Even the gameplay is freaking banger. I would say the best ones in the gameplay department for me right now are Azure, Reverie, Cold Steel 2, Horizon, and First. Those are my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are my top... Those are my 5 gameplay-wise that I love. Like, it is insanely fun combat, and, like, the difficulty is very nice, but also, you can still do a lot of things about it if you know how to play the game right, and, like, the reincorporation of orders was fun, but probably some of the best balanced the orders have been. Like, next to Cold Steel 4. Cold Steel 4 balanced its orders really well, as well, actually, I'll say that much. So actually, I feel in some ways, they let the Cold Steel 4 balancers back in the room, except they cranked up the difficulty, is what it feels like to me. I think, like... Well, I think it's more, I like the resource management of, like, the boosts and, like, the S-Craft and the orders all, like, using the same system with, like, the ZOC even. You have so many things using the same resource, you have to very carefully use that resource, and I think that's pretty cool. Of course, when I say balanced, I mean more in the sense that, like, It isn't... Okay, I need to break down my problem with 3 for a second. I think the problem I have with Cold Steel 3 as like the game that introduced orders and like the brake mechanic, we've come a long way from Cold Steel 3 with this, because quite simply in that game, freaking like the way that game was put together, most encounters you did the same thing for every single goddamn fight, and it became mind-numbing after a point. Oh, really? I haven't even looked at many people. Welcome, everyone. So, yeah, I think for the time being, this is where Horizon is. The scary thing is, it very much depends on what they do next, what happens to it from here. Because I would say that this left me hanging worse than 3 probably would have. Although 3's maybe was more of a... Well, I don't know. They're both gut punches. Oh. But I can say I very much enjoyed the ride. So, yeah. That is, where I have it for the time being. The best Skywalker, amazing. Anyway, with that said, I have like a few other things to say before I really just kind of move on with this. Yeah, how do I go about? Okay, so first of all, I just wanted to talk about the previous stream, the finale. 1 second. What the frick? Where did y'all come from? No, I mean that in the sense that, like, so I don't really look at, if you guys can't tell, the stream analytics while I'm, like, streaming, because, like, I used to do a thing where, like, if it, like, dips, I would kind of just get annoyed, so I just started to just not look at it around the time I started streaming, like, Reverie. But I've been told from some friends that, like, I had, like, 70 people watching during the finale, which is, like, a record. I think it has already almost, like, the most views of, like, any stream I have ever done. I think its only competition is, like, one thing now. And that's crazy. I just want to thank you all so much for watching. It's like, I mean, it's a crazy ending. I get it. Oh, man. And, yeah, yeah. I don't know. It was a really fun stream, though. I had fun with the frickin' ending. As much as you can have fun with an ending like that. But, yeah. Anyway, with that out of the way, I have one more discussion topic, because we've been talking theories earlier. But now I get to talk about the funny theories for, like, the 100th time. Drawn to any stream. That's fair. So actually, we are going to go right back to the desktop screen, because I have some things to bring up. We're going to talk Nayuta. So I'm going to switch over to Nayuta music for a bit. Let's find where that is in here. Okay. Whoops. Okay, let's put that here. Okay. Your favorite non-Trails game. Amazing. Okay. Since I was hunting for Horizon and House. That's really funny. I just wanted to talk about something really quick, though, that my friend Jaden spotted, and I just found this hilarious. Before I dive into any of this, I don't think this necessarily means anything. I just find it really funny. On Nayuta's store pages, there's a very funny phrase in them. This is taken from the Nintendo Switch store and Steam. They just have Beyond the Horizon in its tagline, and has been the case for years, I guess, which is pretty funny. I just, yeah, there hits a point where they have to know what they're doing. But of course, there are like a few other things that I did want to point out that I have collected that I will now be sharing with the class. So actually, I'm going to go here and, right. So, I mean, it's NIS. They're both NIS, so, regardless, for those who are not initiated with Nayuta and me, like, talking about conspiracy theories and stuff for this, which I have brought up on stream before, I am going to actually stream Nayuta pretty soon. It's gonna be a few weeks because, I got a new job, unless something falls through, and so I have to get acquainted with that. And so until I know entirely what's going on and I'm all prepared, I will not be streaming Nayuta. However, it will be coming because I want to share it, because clearly none of you guys want to play it, and that's okay. If we're doing that, I will just do it for you. Anyway, I just need to talk about the one I think most people know if they have ever delved into any of the theories about this. There's an important character in Nayuta. Her name is Kreha. I'm just gonna post her real quick. Now, I don't think I need to show the second image for you guys to know what's funny about this image. But I will post the second image regardless. Now, of course, it's weird because, like, so much art of her has, like, white hair coded, and then, like, that one cutscene recently, she has more, like, blue hair, which is interesting. But, yeah, it is very funny. That's the one everyone knows. There's further layers, but that's the one everyone knows. There also was something else that I wanted to kind of point out as well. This is just more of a really funny thing that they did. So, there is a character in Nayuta, this little fairy person. I won't go into detail on what this character's deal is for the time being, but it's a cute little fairy person that travels along with Nayuta and has some funny quirks. I don't know, and I find it very funny considering we now have a little thingy here. So I just find that kind of funny. I don't know the deal there yet, but could be doing a funny little cute reference thing. Who's to say? Anyway, I do remember, though, this is another very funny little thing. So let me really quickly find a Reddit page. Okay, so there was a Reddit page, and I actually did find a date on this. This is from December 14th, 2023. So this, as far as I understand, this was basically when they first announced Kai no Kiseki. Okay. So let me go here. And I did find the date because I found a Facebook counterpart post. So that is on, again, December 14th, 2023. So, this includes some stuff that went unused in the game. So real quick though, that I at least I think went unused in the game. So obviously we have like this shot. I believe this was from a board meeting or something. This one exists for some reason. I now know, and I saw this a while back, and I immediately noped out of looking the moment I saw this. Where I was like, no, I don't want to see anything more. And it's funny I did, because now I know this is just the Grim Garden. But I just want to point out, and I have this image downloaded, so I will blow it up for you guys. That's just the Grandmaster in the middle of this garden-looking environment, which feels to me like bait for Nayuta theorists. Because there's a very similar looking environment in Nayuta that, like, the Grandmaster is associated with. Not the Grandmaster, but Kreha is associated with. And it's so fascinating that they did this in their, like, weird shenanigans. Now, of course, anything can happen in development. I don't know. But I find it funny, regardless. Yeah. Now, I have a very funny theory that relates to both, the Grandmaster and, Nina. One problem I do have, and you guys will probably know what I mean when I play Nayuta, is, as I've seen her, the Grandmaster's personality conflicts to me a little bit with how I remember Kreha's personality being. And then I remembered something kind of funny, and I will not elaborate. But I will just say that, I have a running theory, and this will make sense with time, that, I actually am starting to think that, Kreha's personality shares similarities with Nina. What do I mean by that? Well, we will have to cross that bridge eventually, but I do find this choice of visual very interesting. So, what do I mean by this? You will have to wait for the eventual Nayuta playthrough. So, yeah, that is something I just, really wanted to share. I... No. No. I will just say it is a funny little story mechanic. And that's all I really will say on the matter. Anyway, let me go back over to this, though. Let's switch over to Tower Ruins. Okay. I believe there was something else I was wanting to discuss on this topic. So, like, Nina mentioned that she came from, like, another world, and, like, they have also mentioned that them have, like, a similar power level to each other a little bit, and all that kind of a thing. But, yeah, Nayuta being McBurn is weird. That one's especially weird because their personalities for sure do not match, as I understand it. I mean, I guess things can happen over the years, but it'd be very weird. But, yeah. Anyway. Oh god, what was it I was gonna bring up? Hey, Jaden, I want a lifeline. Is there anything, regarding the Nayuta conspiracy theory I should bring up that isn't, like, a massive spoiler for that game? I have had to talk about a lot today. Oh yeah, also, okay, actually, I could bring up, one other thing. So... I'm not going into that, Ryan, but there is a funny thing. Yeah, okay, so, Nayata's last name, by the way, the main character of that game, it's, Herschel. And, like, if I even just drag over, like, this art from me watching this, video here real quick, let me just, okay, let's switch back over real quick to this. Yeah, so he has like a giant telescope, you know, for like looking at outer space and stuff like that, which is a big thing with him as well, as just a big iconic aspect of Nayata himself. Yeah, that just happens to be a thing that Toa's family is into. And Toa has her ultimate weapon in Cold Steel 2 in Japan was called Nayata. But when XC localized it, they renamed it to Boundless Trails. But then NIS, when they localized this game, took the Boundless Trails and slapped it into the game title. So, like, they retroactively brought it back in after the fact. Again, like, I'm just saying once again, like, they also did this. I don't know what NIS knows, or if they are just leaning into it for the funsies, but, it's, funny. No, I'm not addressing that one. Also, like, one thing I noticed while playing, this game was, like, a lot of, the architecture, and it could be also maybe Falcom art style, but, like, a lot of the architecture of those ancient ruins in this game specifically felt very, Nayata coded to me. Let me, find the opening. Because, like, I know there's, like, definitely, like, a very early shot in the opening I could use as a, like, very tiny example of this. Like, the mural they had, like, on the wall of, like, that, like, tree or something that was, like, supposed to foreshadow what that tower was doing. It felt very, reminiscent of, like, this to me a little bit. Like, this is, like, the kind of, architecture on Terra, which is, pretty fun. So, yep. Oh wait, I just remembered the other big one, and I did share this before on stream. Let me find, where is it? Oh, come on. I know I looked at it pretty recently for the sake of finding it easy. Because I added a bunch of friggin' other stuff into the mix here. There it is. Okay. Okay, so this is a video by No Bounds Owl. So let's bring this up here. Alright. Desktop. All right. So, this is a unused room in TrailsToAzure. It is in the game's code. And Owl here will demonstrate in like a little bit that this is in fact in like the game's code and everything. But yeah, this is just a comparison with like an early PSP screenshot before like the recent translations and everything. Just like you see that there, just like freaking. And then over here again, it's just so freaking weird. And like Nayuta came out, it was like the game directly after Azure. Which also, by the way, this is in here as well, just as a thing that's on that screen and just happens to have like exactly the same kind of like sun symbol nearly verbatim across these two different like spots. Which I have not looked for this in like Horizon or anything. It'd be really wild if it were in Horizon somewhere. Which I think this tells me they may have planned some kind of crazy reveal in this game and they got cold feet about it afterwards. But here's the thing, you need to look at the way this looks. This is not asset reuse. These do not look like... No, this is explicitly made like this. Like, this is way more detailed. See, I think they had something else cooked in Azure's final chapter, and they just cut it. Because allegedly this is in the code for the Azure tree somewhere, I guess. As if that ending could get any crazier. So, yeah, my running theory is whatever they had here... I think they just realized it was better to save it for later. And if I'm right, they are still saving it to this day. And I'm sure it has something to do with the frickin' Grandmaster. Although, like, even if I am, like, incorrect about, one thing... The fact there were, just like in Nayuta, 2 of these is fascinating in and of itself as well. But it's so fascinating. And again, like this is all the way back in like 11 that this existed in Azure's code. So yeah, I don't know. It's very wacky. So, again, these are a lot of my, as spoiler-free as possible, chips on the table. When I finish playing Nayuta on stream, I will revisit all of this. But yeah, I think on that note, I want to talk about Nayuta now. The stream series, I mean. So... Let me switch to a new track now. Let's go for... Let's use Kreha's theme. Why not? By the way, if this ever plays over a Grandmaster scene, I win. I think I'm leaning towards playing it fresh because I think I think it makes it a little bit weirder, and like I know like some story events can be skipped because like you carry over some critical abilities, I believe. I think that's how it works. So like I think it would be better to just play it fresh for you guys so you guys get like the kind of legit experience, but there are like added NPCs and stuff on a second playthrough. But yeah, anyway, so I'll probably play it on PC. So here's what I'm thinking of doing for Nayuta.
Um, it is going to be technically entry level, so anyone can jump into that at any point. Which means that, unfortunately, Horizon will not be safe. And I have, like, a few friends that talked about maybe wanting to watch that, like, aren't caught up. So, I think what I'm going to do is, I think in the chat, I'm going to, like, hard ban talking about, like, anything you could consider a big spoiler for mainline. Okay? Because you could technically play this at any point. You could play this without even playing Sky. You know what I mean? But I will allow everyone in my server to talk about spoilers in, like, the designated, like, super spoiler corner. So if you guys want to talk live on stream about that stuff, that'll be a good place to do it. But I want to keep it out of the chat as much as possible, if that makes sense to everyone, okay? Especially Horizon, which, with the things I've brought up in this, maybe a little bit hard. I know it's a very big ask. Just smiley face if you have to, and just leave it at the smiley face, okay? It'll be hard for me to not, okay? You may see me just kind of occasionally just, like, see a plot point, just be like, you know what I mean? But I think it will be for the best, just because of the nature of that game. Because I think I also recommend it to people typically around the time they beat Reverie. But you could play it anytime. But, like, that's typically where I recommend it. But, because that's when they localized it for us. But you know what I mean. Or maybe after Azure, because that's when it came out. I mean, that'd be funny too. Yeah. I'm very interested in seeing all of your thoughts on the game as I stream it. I hope you're excited for it. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on me streaming Nayuta, out of curiosity? I know I'm definitely, again, like I said, I'm most curious for your guys' reactions, but should be interesting. Okay. Also a refresher. Yeah, yeah. I also will be taking it slower, just because, again, I may or may not be having to juggle work with it now, but I think it should be pretty fun, and yeah, I quite like. I may or may not like the game a little bit, you know. Also, I'm debating, because it is so much shorter than mainline Trails, because it is, I may bring out the funny voices I used to do for my Let's Plays. Freaking Nico B style. I don't know how that will work. I'm even debating whether I should play it subbed or not, because this one I actually played dubbed for the first time compared to most Trails games. So I'll have to figure that out. But, yeah. Well, either way, I guess just as a general thing, though, now that we have lots of theories and discussions and stuff out of the way, I guess, is there anything else you guys want to talk Horizon with me before I wrap this up that, like, you feel like I missed but should discuss? Oh, the artifact revelation? Okay.
Ah, okay. Um, that's really wacky. But like, I guess some of them seem to be. I think Kondo said in an interview that some of them, not all of them, are displaced from other timelines. Like, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to process from all of that. I think there's just, like, when it comes to, like, all the resets and everything, like, I talked about this earlier about how this makes so much make sense. Okay, also, I kind of mentioned this before that I felt like, a lot of the, way that Zemuria is put together kind of feels... I think I said this during the last stream, but whatever. Because it's relevant. I think in general with the way the Septarians work is it does feel increasingly to me like they're almost like robot constructs left behind, again, just to observe and or serve humanity. Again, like the time one is just holding everything in a dome, and it's observing people's technological progress or whatever, which is fascinating. The Oriole was just like trying to like keep people comfortable. The Fire in Earth Septarians were just like there just to help their civilizations, and they just were told to fight each other, and then they're like, well, people want war, and I'm just going to continue doing exactly what I was programmed to do. And so... Yeah, I mean, that's the other things, yeah, the desertification is still technically a mystery, because there's nothing saying that it is technically related to what's going on. I talked to someone and they thought that the desertification was happening because of Hamilton, but she was taking it from specifically 1210, which, by the way, is, if we resolve this whole thing, I feel really bad for 1210, because a lot of their water is just gonna be gone. Which, you know, not good. Like, what, we get to whatever year it is, and then just, like, boom, just the water mysteriously disappears from places. But, yeah, no, I think it's very possible the Septarian of water is related to it, but it's hard to know for sure right now. I feel like it could just be a case of just like history repeating itself, which would lean into the time loop thing. Like, just I think this is a theory I have. Whenever the Great Collapse happened with that, whatever happened after the fact, I think just the Septarian of time went like, okay, when society reaches this level, bad things happen. So it just decides to just revert things the moment it gets to that point again. So, like, in that sense, I think it is just, like, the idea of humanity doomed to repeat itself. I think that's probably what it is supposed to dissect. Yeah, the sin level. Because it's, like, how close until we hit the point where humanity does a big bad again. So, yeah, that's what I think is going on with that. So it's very fascinating. Yeah. Also the fact that, like, because of technology being displaced from other timelines, that's part of why society, the tech actually was growing so fast, is that it was just, like,
this is the really wacky part. I need to bring this up. Everyone is just copying themselves from other timelines, which in turn ends up leading to them copying themselves in timelines in the future, like an Ouroboros snake. And I remember freaking McBurn. He said, like, I remember everything and the truth of this world. Ouroboros, they couldn't have picked a better name. It's so good. It's yeah. Now I don't know if that is the exact one, but it is at least funny. I'm gonna lock that in for the time being because that's pretty good if they do use that as some relation to it. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I don't know what's gonna happen next. I'm in the waiting room. Returning characters. Okay. So, I mean, they brought up Gaius a lot, so I'm sure Gaius will show up. I think he kind of said as much almost in the interview, from what I heard, which is pretty funny. I could see, like, maybe, I could see that as, like, the Class 7 returning person. I think Riaz would show up for, like, Kevin's group, I imagine. I also wouldn't be surprised if we got maybe, like, a few more church people, because they seem to have, like, a big old focus in this arc. So, like, I could see more than just Riaz, who I don't know. It would be really cool to have, Aang show up, like, for the first time in 3D with a real model. That'd be cool. Tio would be cool. Although I kind of... part of me feels like it'd be weird to have Tio without the rest of the SSS, though. As funny as that is to say. Oh yeah, 8 Leaves Reunion would be pretty sick, actually, yeah. Just get all of them together, for sure. Yeah, I am so very curious. Oh, really? I mean, are we sure that's what he said under his mouth? If so, that's wacky. Richard returning would be cool. Richard with Annalise would be a very funny combo of characters to have. Yeah, I remember hearing about there being an interview with he said that, like, they're also planning the final arc as well now, I guess, like, and that Estelle and Joshua are gonna show up again. But that's like game and or games away, so I mean, I'm not thinking too much about that for the time being. Yeah, I mean, you know, Amy, I kind of get it in this case. This is kind of huge. This is like... yeah. I love Lloyd, but maybe it wasn't the time for him to do the end of Azure thing. That's okay. I love him anyway. That's funny, though. Oh, yeah, no. I think Valimar and Ordine showing up again. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Can you imagine how hype it would be if we had, like, a section where it was just, because of the reset, of course. If we had Valimar, Ordine, and Excalibur, like, all working together and have, like, a big old epic, like, space fight. Like, Even better if like Valimar and Ordine like transform when they come back too. Oh my god. That is so freaking sick. If that happened, I would lose my mind. So, yeah. I did also notice, by the way, that Zoa Gilstein, I guess this is circling back to much earlier, the way it looked reminded me a lot of, like, the Loa Erebonius robots that, like, showed up, like, those monsters. So, again, like, I think there's a lot of things in Cold Steel that very much are just, like, yeah, we're touching on the deep lore stuff, but this is not the time for us to actually explain any of it. And so now we're here. And it's kind of good that Rian's here for it. But all of this basically feels like, to me, like we thought we were done with the Septarian of Steel after Cold Steel, but no. No, we were not. And it's kind of funny in that regard. El Prado would be cool too, yeah. But was El Prado also in that mech, or was it just Valimar and Ordine? I mean, I'd be okay with that. Give Rufus stuff. Rufus is sick. I mean, it's weird parallel universe time travel shenanigans. I guess anything is possible, but like, I don't know. I don't know if they should go too far with it, is the only thing I would say. Mm-hmm. My god. No, Amy, I actually was thinking to myself when, like, because, like, again, he was dead, and then, like, he mentioned about, like, Gaius didn't know. So I was just thinking to myself, like, okay, there's gonna be some crazy twist there. And Beauregard is very good at shutting his goddamn mouth. He's so good at it. So insanely good at it. And it's frustrating. Anyway. Let me find, I guess it wouldn't be the first time. Oh, Kondo. I mean, also on the list of statements he has made is him saying that the Grandmaster isn't Kreha. Although, I feel he could be doing a funny. Just from what I said earlier. Okay. I think he could be doing a funny. Weissman would be weird. Imagine half the reason they make Sky remakes is so they get models for certain characters now, like freaking Weissman. That'd be really funny. That would be crazy. I don't know if I want that, though. I mean, I don't know. Look, it all comes down to execution, whatever the frick they do. I think that's what really matters. And the problem is he has been... I mean, like, he's an important character, but I feel like he's very disconnected from, like, the interpersonal character stuff that this arc is doing. Like, that'd be just a pull for the fans and would be nothing to most of the immediate characters, except for, like, I guess Kevin, but Kevin already kind of had the, like, facing him again, like, in the Hell Zone, and, like, you had, yeah, I don't really, yeah. I don't know. Let's move Confessors 2. Let's see. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've largely... The problem with this game is, like, I have everything to talk about, but also I feel like I am left without critical information, and, like, this is now my third talk about hypotheticals with, I think the other thing, though, is I feel like we've wrapped up Osborne. I don't know if I want more Osborne at this stage. Like, I was good with how we wrapped up with him, especially with that scene in Reverie. But, again, I guess execution, but... Okay, so, when I mentioned before about... Okay, I have additional reasons I theorize things about Zemuria itself. Okay, so allow me to kind of break this down for a second, and I'm going to explain things this way, and I won't elaborate some of the reasons I think this is going on, okay? I think, and this makes complete sense with everything else we know so far, on some level, and I'm not talking digital, for the record, but I do think on some level Zemuria is artificially created. Like, I think everything that is there is very physical and very, like, created, but, like, I think it was not formed naturally. So, one of the reasons I speculate this is the Septian veins. So, the Septian veins are, like, repeatedly... Okay, I want to actually circle back to something else real quick. So, the Orbital Network, when they started talking about the way it was constructed, they have said repeatedly that it was modeled after the Septian veins. The Septian veins, essentially are just, like, this network of, like, magic wibbly-wobbly stuff. When they're first mentioned, it's like, oh, it's okay. But, like, SC, you could just, like, plug a device into it and cause earthquakes. The thing is, the way that, like, the Orbital Network, like, again, it's kind of like a network, but it is also created from orbital energy, which is harvested from Septium, which is harvested from the veins. Which effectively means that the orbital network is just a second set of Septium veins that are just created using technology. Okay? I don't think they go into the nitty-gritty. I'm assuming it's like fiber lines or something like that. You know what I mean? But, like, whatever. Point being, it has the same energy running through it as what's in the Septium veins, just created man-made. Now, what I find very fascinating about that parallel that they continue to bring up over and over throughout the entire series is quite simply the fact that I feel Reverie is very key. Because that is the point where essentially the two different orbital networks very briefly intersected and created an entity. An entity that just on its own had the power of a Septarian. Now, what I think is actually going on, if we view this from the lens of, and it's partially because maybe, like, I have an idea of this because computer science and everything, but, a computer, you have, like, a bunch of software that interacts with the hardware, and the hardware can technically be, accessed by various programs that all can use, like, the same piece of hardware, like, let's say a graphics card, right? But not just one thing can access that component of the hardware. So what I speculate regarding Kia, by the way, I think she accessed the same part of whatever Zamuria's code is that the Time Septarian used. And basically just hijacked its component and you did what she needed to do. That is my theory speculation regarding what Kia did in relation to what we have learned. So that is well, I mean, it's like weird wibbly wobbly, yeah. It also could be that they're affected by the weird time space and not, because we've now established, because of the vestiges and the artifacts, that this rewind thing isn't perfect nor absolute. Sometimes things slip through the cracks. So actually, when you say that, I kind of feel like that could be an explanation for their weird powers. However, I think when I replayed 4, though, I think that actually might have been more so just the, how do I put this? So, I think when, like, the curse implants itself in certain individuals that had a really bad mark, they gained, like, certain powers, but I think, like, the way their eyes are and, like, the symbol and everything, I think for sure in, Cold Steel in particular, I think they became, like, secondary contracts to Osborne, kinda. You know, like Rain and his friends are, a little bit. But, like, I guess they had powers before that. I think right now I'm in Horizon Brain, but I do remember that I did have theories about that when I replayed them recently. They're not in my brain right now, unfortunately. But, like, I know, for example, Reen's, like, weird ogre power thing was very fascinating to me. Because I guess that was also kind of the curse, sorta, except for, like, other things about it. God, that's, like, the other thing is, like, the weird Gnosis thing, which is, like... There's also the fact that, when they made that dome, it's definitely protecting Zamuria from something. Hey, Jaden, are you still in the chat? I'm gonna DM him. Alright, I DM'd him asking for a funny. If he gives it to me, I will share it on stream. Seen near the end of Reverie with a predictive future. Well, yeah, no, I think we talked about that earlier, and then Lloyd telling him no, but there was other things about that, yeah, with the previous timeline. I also kind of said this earlier as well, that, like, I think the Ishmael Gareen timeline was probably a very similar previous timeline, and this one, although it is so bizarre because there's, like, a very weird scene you can get in Cold Steel 4 where you can just, like, time travel back with the help of what seems to be like this is only if you didn't do the side quest, where you can go back with the help of, like, the Grandmaster and, like, basically just unlock the true ending that way, which is weird in and of itself. I know 90% of us just took the advice and just did all the quests and never got this scene, but I did for science when I did my review playthrough recently. Oh, you sent it, Jaden? Very good. Thank you. I will now share with the class. Okay, Jaden brought up something really funny. I have no idea if this is in relation to what is outside of the dome, but it is really funny. So there's this enemy here, right? Yeah. For some reason, this piece of information is in its freaking description. A mysterious invader from outer space, made of antimatter. It destroys everything it comes in contact with. The frick do you mean, invader from outer space? The frick do you mean? This is an enemy from freaking Cold Steel 4 in, like, the final dungeon. Which, by the way, is the game where they starting hitting really hard at this, like, deep lore stuff. So, I mean, who knows? This may actually be something. I don't know. It's so weird. Like, yeah. Anyway, if any of you guys want to add this to the list, feel free to screenshot for future use. This is so freaking insane. Look, I'm kind of hitting the point, by the way, that, like, whether or not there was a real game plan to the normal ending of Cold Steel 4 or not, I don't think I really care anymore. I mean, I'm gonna have to talk about it in my Cold Steel 4 video, because there's no way I could talk about... I mean, like, I just have to somehow talk about it while pretending I don't know what I know. You know what I mean? But, like, I think, like, at this point, I don't really care if it was meant to be something larger or not when he did that ending. But, god dang, has it been important ever since then. Time for this really cool track. Yeah, all I gotta say at the end of the day, this is just a cool freaking series. And I think the thing is, I think we're far from even being done. I think this is just the beginning of just the insanity. Because I already mentioned before about, like, the Samuria itself on some level being artificial like this, I'm pretty much locking in on that theory, and it's going to be very fascinating to see the details. Because I think the other thing about Horizon that makes this game so insane, right, is that we have gone to such lengths building up this universe, but I remember very distinctly there was an emotion I was getting the entire time I've been playing Daybreak, and this game reinforced that feeling. And it's been very subtle, and I don't know if anyone else felt this way, but the entire time I've been playing this entire arc, it's felt like I've watched this universe that they built up all this time start to unravel on itself. And I think that's very intentional, because this game in particular is just the point where being like, yeah, no, this is what's actually going on. Because it's like they've gone to such detail to build it up, and now they have to kind of just explain the truth behind these details. Oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about, Mr. PhD, yes. Yeah. Or expert. I'm just gonna say expert. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah. And I think also, like, the shards are very fascinating to me as well, because, like, while they are man-made, I think it's similar to what I mentioned with, like, the Orbital Tech thing, because, like, in a way, what they have done with the garden is they've just made a version of Phantasma in a way, if you really stop and think about it. It's just like a artificial man-made one, but they have effectively created Phantasma. And so it's a case of just, like, the natural universe, and then, like, this. It's like there's two layers of just, like, yeah, they've done this, but also, I think just in general, it's like, who's to say, its own fascinating way, the foundations of this universe. And the other thing is how many pocket dimensions there are in Trails, on such a, that are similar to Phantasma in nature. Like, it is actually kind of crazy, to the point that I'm just like, yeah, okay. I think, again, when I bring up the hardware and component part, I think, again, this is just part of Zemuria, and different things know how to use it. And also what Marduk has with that weird tech, I wouldn't be surprised if they just learned how to do it, just like the other things. Yeah. So, it is. Okay, we're basically into sci-fi, like fantasy sci-fi, but very leaning sci-fi the further in we get. And it's, I'm all for it. Yeah. But yeah. Celestial Globe is another thing. Yeah, no. I'm gonna jump the gun on one other aspect of Nayata. Only one other thing, okay? So in Nayata, so Nayata has, like, two settings technically, but one of them, post-block. Oh my god, I'm gonna talk about that in a second, Cam. That stuff was crazy weird. So in Nayata, as an aside, just because I want to, so there's, like, two settings in it. There's, like, I think it's just called Earth, but you know, the main setting, and then there's, like, Terra, which is, like, this other world that you go to. Terra has, like, its own magic system. It's, like, it's equivalent to orbital energy, I guess you could call it, kinda, sorta. And it's called astral energy. And this is the world that, Kreha's associated with. And everything about Ouroboros has like astral code, celestial globe. I just find that funny. Again, that'll be a funny game when I get into it. Also, yeah, no, that definitely was something I noticed with the Celestial Globe change, yeah. But yeah, no, the post-apocalyptic thing with Rosette was kind of crazy. Frickin' Again, it was just God Eater. I don't know if that's gonna have any larger like role in the next one, the E factor stuff. However, I could definitely tell they just really wanted to do a little bit more God Eater in there, and you know what, I'm not gonna complain. It's pronounced like Reset. Oh my freaking god, that's actually kind of cute. I mean, like, yeah. No. It's so fascinating to you and voucher. Yeah. No. Wait, actually, now that you say that, I guess, like, the executors are, like, vaguely like, Vajra, right? Let me... Hold on. Okay, no, those are more four-legged. Yeah, never mind then. You got me, Cross. That's really funny. Yeah, I don't know if I see that happening. Oh yeah, there's also the whole thing about like freaking the three revolutionaries showing up there, which sure is something they left us hanging without officially confirming that. Couldn't have even like showed us their faces. They just had to have freaking Mariel just go like, well, what? I've seen a few theories about Agnes's family being very quirky. I mean, also there was type Claudel or whatever. That was a whole line in there. Crail Hill, yeah. That was pretty wacky. Again, I think at this point, Agnes, her, I think people did say that she looked kind of like, I really do never remember her name ever. It's so... Sheena Dirk. People have said that she looks like Sheena Dirk. So, that's probably what we saw. I do remember this now. That'd be wacky. Also, yeah, I mean, okay, so it looked like she had silver hair, which I have maybe a theory, only just because she did not look like Ida. Her fighting style seemed unfamiliar to Fairy. But also something about her seemed familiar to Fairy. I vaguely recall there being like an ancient hero. I think she was Najee's ancestor. I think Najee had like a really cool ancestor, but it's been like mentioned like maybe like a handful of times, and they could totally do that. I don't know. At this point, they brought back Taco Man. I feel some of my expectations are out the window. It would be really funny if they brought back Taco Man explicitly just to keep me from, like, wanting to guess. That'd be funny. That could be an older fairy, yeah. Yeah. I mean, white hair is funny, but I guess anything could happen. Maybe from the same timeline as Rosette. Oh. Well, either way. Let me hit this track again. Yeah, I mean... Like, I mean, or at least he's probably similar to a Vestige, yeah. That's funny. I'm very curious what they're gonna end up doing with that then. But yeah. I don't know. Overall, I feel like sky's almost the limit. Like, when you have a concept like this, I feel like the only limit is Falcom's budget. So as far as they can push that without ruining themselves, I suppose. Oh, yeah, no, I'm using the name I was taught. I know they were called Remnants in the other translation. Is beyond the canopy. Yeah, because we haven't gotten to see, like, Altair again, or, like, I guess a few locations, maybe. Yeah, it's possible. Makes sense. Makes sense. Terrace and some amount of, yeah. Yeah, I mean... It's really funny because I think a lot of you guys definitely have a lot of different ideas, but I'm just like, yep. I mean, that one. Maybe not that one. Maybe that one. Maybe that one. I'm like, this is kind of where this is at. Because, again, I mean, my perspective, when you have time travel as your freaking, or like, people time traveling from other dimensions, again, like with these vestiges, I hit a point where I'm just like, I have some guesses, but technically they can do whatever the frick they want, in theory, with this concept. You know what I mean? Again, I feel like the only limit is Falcom's budget. Yeah, no, funny, E-Man. Maybe I should just say Einstein. I mean, it feels like the actual motivation. They wanted a name that was, like, adjacent to Einstein. It's just, you know, it's aged interesting. Um, yeah, Einstein, very fascinating development in these games. I don't, it's so crazy because he was just like such a background plot detail and like has become critically important to the universe. It's like kind of crazy, like even down to the fact that he's also kind of responsible for like Ouroboros' tech in a way too, because of, but from a different timeline because of Novartis. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, no, there's like so much going on. Also, like, there's the other layer of just McBurn showed up conveniently 50 freaking years ago. That's fun. Yeah. Regardless, yeah, something's happened with McBurn there. Oh, also, you know what? While I'm at it, I kind of wanted to talk about one thing that I observed. This is also larger Trails mystery because nothing we've had explained has explained the salt pail. That's like still a big lingering series mystery. But I do want to say though that the salt pail is very, very fascinating to me, and that one scene with what's his name, Nielsen, you know, in the weird guy that keeps showing up, you know what I mean? God, I am so curious what his deal is. He is something important. Regardless, that entire scene with him in 4, because he basically dissects arguably the salt pail incident is probably the most important event in Trails, just outside of like maybe the Great Collapse itself. Because like we need to talk about the cause and effect here because it's kind of crazy, okay? This thing crashes, ruins Northumbria, which is like ends up affecting like all sorts of things like the Northern Jaegers coming into being, all that. But most importantly, more important than all that, it creates freaking Weissman. And the thing about it creating freaking Weissman is that Weissman later on in life ends up like colluding with like all sorts of people, none of which is like, you know, Alberic, but also ends up just colluding with like the nobles and just getting like, you know, making use of the curse, but basically just getting them to do what they do in Sky. But in the process, not only kicks off Sky, but also kicks off Osborne, because Osborne picked up on the plan, tried to stop it, and then that's how that happened with him. And essentially from there, Osborne got created, 100-Day War happened. All from one pillar creating one psycho dude. Like, Weissman, because of the pillar, caused like everything. Like everything. Like that is a crazy domino effect. Yes, but the Northern Jaeger specifically. But that's less important than the one dude. Yeah. Hummel happened because of Salt Pail. 100-Day War happened because of Salt Pail. Osborne happened because of Salt Pail. By extension, the Civil War and Jormungand happened because of Salt Pail. Crossbell happens because of Salt Pail.
Everything Salt Pale. Anyway, I got the DMs. Let me... I guess there was this line from Jaden. I'll just put image tool. Thank you, Jaden. I actually speculate. I feel Anguis is too easy of an explanation, considering how long they've baited this dude. I don't know what he is. But... wait a moment. Yeah, I'm leaning towards, again, I feel like Anguish is too easy. I don't know what he is. But like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what he is. He's definitely sus. That is not in question. But I'm not sure what he is at the moment. Oh, yeah, I just read what you said, Sarah, that or not about Amy, about Sarah, where it like created Sarah's entire arc and everything there. That is also fair. But at the end of the day, though, everything did circle back to that, which is crazy. Yeah. Regardless, there's a lot still missing. So I'm very curious to see where we ultimately go with everything. Again, I guess my general hopes for the next game, to sum it up as like anything else, I just take me for the wild ride, Falcon. I hope that I guess Reen, obvious. I hope people do remember things so that like the arcs aren't just cut short. How many, we'll see, but I hope enough that it feels satisfying. Reen and like Crow, I'd like to see something happen with Ordine and Valimar, or really anything, just to finish that. Curious to see what they do with them. Kevin, I want to see like him have like stuff with Riaz and him just kind of just be like, dude, you are not doing this again, and him finding a like better solution out of this. I want to find out more about what the Vestiges, specifically the Revolutionaries, are like hoping to gain out of everything they were doing. I want to see what happens with like Van and like the Anyas like stuff with that, like where we just get some kind of resolution there that works. Kincaid, I want to find out what his deal is. Again, I heavily speculate that he may be like the Holy Beast, but kind of more like a weird Roselia kind of one, where it's like just but he's like a weird Kamen Rider kind of thing. That'd be cool. I think that'd be fun. And I don't know if that means he has his own mare, but that would be cool. Yeah, I am very curious in general to see what happens ultimately from here. Like, game's cool. And, also, yeah, just having Valimar, Ordine, and Amelia teaming up in their mechs would be sick.
El Prado would be cool too, but you know, I think that's less necessary because Rufus is. I don't think he needs a mech to be cool at this stage. He's. Oh, right. Okay, there's also that we need to get the Sunshine Anias thing explored further because the frick. Okay, I know one thing for sure. I think that heavily was hinting that Sunshine Anias took place in a previous timeline version of Anchorville because of there being differences of the town and that there was an Anias there. However, the nature of that letter is incredibly fascinating to me. It could range from anything to maybe Agnes is out there, but she's a vestige. Like the book Agnes, I mean. You know what I mean? It could be anything like that. I have no idea. You know? Like... like, maybe she was trying to preserve what happened or something, you know? Yeah. Oh. I get more message. Oh, okay. Okay, I will read all of that later. I think I'm gonna be wrapping up the stream because I gotta. I'm just getting a little bit fatigued here, but I'm seeing a lot of posts from Jaden. Actually, Jaden, if you want to, you can post it in the Kai Beyond Spoilers channel for like everyone else. If you feel okay with that, and we could do it that way. But I think I kind of have to wrap up. Yeah. But I did just want to thank everyone again so much for watching these streams. I'm going to pick a different song while I wrap up. Yeah, I'll go with that one. Anyway, I want to thank you all so much for watching these streams. It was insanely fun. This has been by far, I think, my most successful stream series. It was incredibly entertaining playing through the game. It was very fun having you guys in the chat and just the amount of love, like in general, like, the views on the like finale were insane. Just the amount of people that were just like there, just like I've never had that, and it's kind of nuts. And I'm glad you all seem to be very entertained by my reactions to what happened. I'm now in the waiting room like everyone else, and it is very cool to be caught up. It's just wild that it had to be this game of all games that I had to be caught up to Japan. But hey, I mean, I can view everything. We can all... Guys, have we considered the fact that if you have just caught up for the first time, you can look up anything. No spoilers can hurt you now until the next game. But you know what I mean? That's actually kind of nuts. I've had to go 6 years dodging things. The downside, I now have burden of knowledge. Oh my god. But hey, we're free. We're free, gentle souls. And we have a Sky remake coming out later this year, which is cool. I want to know what happens next. But it'll be a fun game. And I'm looking forward to playing it and seeing how it plays out. And it's still kind of funny that it took like 2011, right? That was when Sky first got localized for us. So like 15 years? Is it 15 years to catch up to Japan? That's insane.
But it happened, and that's crazy, honestly. I it's funny being here for this. Yeah, like over a decade. Reverie. See you later, spoiler map. That's so funny. Yeah, I think in general this is just one of my favorite series. Ooh. Okay. Alright, well, I do have my VGen. You can check that out. I guess on that note, I'll do some plugging because I'm very bad at doing this. I have friends who repeatedly tell me that I'm very bad at this YouTube thing. If you guys enjoyed the streams, I do have the subscribe button down below. I do also have members, and you can become a member, and you'll have nice little badges. For the most part, the amount I stream is very inconsistent. I am going to be streaming Nayata, of course, but we'll see what happens after Nayata. But yes, I have played Final Fantasy X. Yes. But yeah, if you guys want to support the channel in that way, you can. I do also do artwork, and you can check out my VGen where I can make art for you for a price. And I work pretty fast, and it's pretty cheap. I think you guys will enjoy that. I also have a Patreon, although I would treat that more like a donation thing. I have a few things you can view there exclusively, like my reactions. You'll have to find the show yourself, unfortunately. And you would have to watch the show, unfortunately. But you can find my reactions. It's like a watch-along to the Trails of Cold Steel Northern War anime. It is exclusively on my Patreon. But real talk, it is mostly a donation thing. If that interests anybody, you can go ahead and do that. I have lots of ways you can support the channel and or what I do in general, because I do multiple things. So, yeah, if you guys liked it, check that out. But really, at the end of the day, I just thank you guys for watching. Seriously. This has been fun. I haven't had too many issues, really, with the chat. Like, a few comments here or there, but, like, I think compared to some people I've seen, it's been a very chill time, and I'm really happy to have the community that I do for the most part. Like, I've seen infinitely crazier. And I am very much looking forward to whatever happens in the future with Trails, and I do want to try and finish my Cold Steel 3 video this year, but we'll see what happens. It's been in development hell for a hot minute, but for the time being, I have a new job. I'm going to focus on that, and then maybe sometime after I finish Nayata, I may just take the time between that and Sky's Second to just lock in and see what happens. But again, you guys are all the best, and I just look forward to future streams. And yeah, I don't know how to do short outros. Yeah, so I'll see you guys later. Have a good night. Take care, and I will see you guys with a Nayata. Just keep following the channel, and you'll see it scheduled whenever it's ready to happen. So anyway, have a good one, guys, and I'll see you guys beyond the horizon. Hopefully not a giant doomsday box. See ya.